everyone, I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and it's time to leave no dye behind. I have some leftover dye that was left from making a dye stock, rinsing out syringes and graduated cylinders from a recent, more math-intensive episode of Dye Pot Weekly, which you really should go check out. There'll be a link in the top right-hand corner of the screen. But yeah, we're gonna kettle dye some yarn, and we're gonna use a leftover dye bath, some extra leftover water from pre-soaks, and even a skein of yarn that I started pre-soaking a while ago. With everything going on in the world right now, I have a little bit less time to film, which means that I've had to modify some of my plans, and also means that sometimes yarn pre-soaks for days instead of the 30 minutes that I typically do. But I have a skein of raw white Zara ready to go. This is a 12-ply yarn that is beautiful. It's DK weight from Filatura di Crosa, and they sent it to me when they sponsored a video a while back. This video isn't sponsored, but if it's still in stock, you can still use the code ChemKnits for 10% off your order of the raw white Zara on their website. This is an affiliate code, so I will earn commission from it. But if you order 2 bags for 10 skeins, you can get free shipping. And so this is all while supplies last. I'm assuming there's probably still supplies, but yeah, so it's worth going and checking out their website to see. I'll have details for everything that I'm using today in the video description. At one point, the dye bath started with 8 cups of water and 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. And here is our leftover dye. It's a combination of some deep magenta and some sapphire blue. And I'm just pouring those leftovers into our dye pot. And you can see just how much pigmentation you can have from what dye powder is left on our spoons, what little bits of liquid could be left on a syringe or in a cup. I'm also just going to increase this water volume with some leftover pre-soaked water that I had. Now, the other reason why I'm doing this is that we are reducing our acid concentration, which should slow down the rate that our colors absorb at least a bit. I'm not planning on sticking my hand in here to check the temperature, but I think that it is safe to say that it is cooler than it was. Here is our pre-soaked Zara. I'm just going to plop it in and stir things up. By adding that extra water that I had left over already, that reduced the heat, reduced our acid concentration, and we're leaving no materials behind. And so this will help a bit with the evenness of our color absorption. But even so, you can see some unevenness in here. This is a yarn base that I find absorbs color, starts absorbing color really, really quickly. And I think we're going to have something beautiful and sort of a, not necessarily, it might be pastelish, but it should be a beautiful pink. I am going to turn on the heat. We do want to heat this up. I think I'll go ahead and let it heat for about 30 minutes. If it starts to boil, I'll reduce the temperature, and maybe I'll stir periodically. I don't really know, but I'm really excited for this pink, and oh, I'm just happy. After 30 minutes, the dye bath is clear, and I turned off the heat. There is a little bit of some bubbling around the edge. It's a little hard to see, and a little bit of a pink halo, but I think the colorway is beautiful. Now we just need to wait for it to cool completely so we can go wash it. I'm not sure you can see on camera. I do see a few teeny tiny speckles in here. One thing about the raw Zara base, which again could be a little hard to see, is that when you get it, it is raw, meaning that it's fresh from the mill where it was spun, and it is not yet had the twist set. It does not yet have that final wash. And so that wash that allows the yarn to finish plumping up and give us that beautiful round high twist yarn that I love. That comes after you've washed the yarn and then hung it up to dry. I do put all my yarn through a spin dryer to remove excess liquid. I find that in general it helps keep things from being stretched out because you remove some of that weight. I haven't done an experiment to see if it's necessary for the Zara. I wouldn't expect it would, but you can certainly blot the yarn dry with a towel or something, or use a salad spinner. So that could be worth giving a shot. I'm now using some clear dish soap. I don't anticipate there being any bleeding. I guess I never added more vinegar to our dye bath. The colors absorbed really, really well just with what was there. And I'm not seeing any bleeding. So now I'm going to go ahead and rinse out the rest of this soap, put the yarn through the spin dryer as I mentioned, and then hang it up to dry so we can come back and take a final look at our colorway. How's that for a yarn mop? Well, I guess it's not really a mop today because I'm not mopping up leftover color as much as I'm leaving no dye behind, and I sort of saved all the dye that was left in cups and on spoons and things like that to combine to create this color. Sometimes people ask me what I mean when I call something a yarn mop, and what I'm using it for is if I've got leftover dye, say on a countertop, or in a pot that I want to soak up and clean up that water so I can use it for something else, I use an extra skein of yarn and I call it the mop because it's going to soak up that leftover color. Sometimes if a color is too intense, not all the color can absorb onto your yarn, and so the mop can help and sort of function as that color catcher to help you out later on. But today, this isn't really a yarn mop. This is leftover color that is a beautiful rosy pink. There are a couple tiny speckles on here, but you really have to look closely to see them. It might be hard to see, but the high twist in the Zara yarn gives this so much dimension, and even with a paler color, it does have almost a glazed feel. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I hope that you enjoyed this look into how that color that is left over doesn't have to be left behind. You can still create something really, really lovely. I do want to check my privilege though, because I do know that having extra yarn to make random surprise colors that isn't what you're dyeing intentionally is a privilege. I do have access to a lot of bare yarn, and I have a shop where these beautiful one-of-a-kind colors can end up. So leaving no dye behind is really fun and can be cost-saving on the dye side, but if you don't have the yarn available for that, then that is something else to consider. But if you like to dye little toys or things like that, sometimes having small amounts of yarn in a certain color can come in really handy. So you could always try to leave no dye behind and dye some mini skeins if you think that you might use that for some kind of project in the future. I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and if you enjoyed this video, subscribe, like, turn on notifications by ringing that bell. You don't want to miss any new content, and I published at least 2 new videos every single week. And with your notifications on, hopefully you won't miss any of it. If you'd like to support on another level, I do have an Etsy shop, a Patreon, even some limited merch on Zazzle. You can find details to all of this down in the video description. I'm wishing all of you health and safety and non-chapped hands. Don't forget to moisturize those hands as you are washing them a lot. I like a combination of some Aquaphor with a healing hand lotion. I put that on at night, and that really does help my chapped dyer's hands, because even without the current situation, I usually wash my hands a ton. So that mixture really does help. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.